A white-haired man entered the chamber. At a richly decorated wooden table sat the town councilor, intently engrossed in documents. "I've come about the announcement," the stranger said, displaying a piece of leather parchment. "Welcome, sir, welcome. You're a witcher, yes?" The councilor deduced this from the wolf head medallion, swinging on the stranger's neck. "Yes. Sit down, sir, sit down, because you see, a troll seems to have made itself at home nearby. A nasty creature, oh, very nasty. Initially, it didn't bother us. But with time, the forester went missing. Then his wife and a group of villagers. We even sent armed men. A whole dozen, but not one of them returned. After barely a week, people started avoiding the swamps, by a wide margin. The noble Lord of Duloc therefore offered a reward for the creature. "How much?" the witcher replied, adjusting his sword belt. 800 Noric crowns. Our king, renowned for his generosity and kindness, cares for his people, so he set a generous reward for slaying the monster. He himself bravely embarked on an armed expedition against overseas invaders. Therefore, he cannot send more armed men. Can you tell me anything more about this creature? Any details? Nothing more except that it smells terribly and is dangerous. Give me 1,000 and I'll take the contract. Before you start a tirade of complaints and questions, allow me to explain this to you. The infamous creature isn't some Leshen, manticore, or fiend. 12 battle-hardened warlords and veterans were unable to kill this hideous thing. Each of them probably had a family. If not a wife, a woman, or children, then certainly a father and mother. 12 men did not return from this expedition. And believe me, man, soon many more will stop returning. Winter is coming soon, and without wood, people will freeze to death. Unless you want to import it or burn furniture, so decide, will we strike a deal? Or is your lord not so generous? All right, sir, all right. Let it be 1,000. Just please kill this plague. Payment immediate upon completion of the task, upon showing the creature's head. I will depart tomorrow. I need to prepare," he replied, closing the richly decorated chamber doors behind him. The next morning, the witcher prepared for the expedition. He attached several peculiar flasks with clear liquids to his belt. He smeared his sword with foul-smelling grease. Having made sure he hadn't forgotten anything, he left the lodging and set off towards the swamps. He had killed monsters in this world for money many times before. Each expedition caused no fear or even doubt. Cut, dodge, parry, and a thrust with the pommel, straight into the neck artery. All these movements were completely intuitive, learned like the ability to walk. However, despite his holy training, the warrior felt uncertainty so pervasive and obsessive that he began to wonder if he would return from this expedition whole. But he had to go, for such was his destiny. Stepping deeper and deeper towards the epicenter of events, he encountered more and more signs of the creature's presence. Following the bloody trail, he noticed more and more bodies. Some were mere fragments of powerfully built men. Scattered nearby lay swords, maces, shields, and crossbows. Body parts wore breastplates and elements of chainmail armor. This must have attested to their experience and combat skills. Not everyone could afford the luxury of full equipment. Only warriors fighting regularly and emerging victorious from skirmishes could eventually gather enough funds for such gear. The Witcher was now sure that he had demanded too little remuneration. However, he had no choice. His word was given. Following deeper into the swamps and the corpses of his predecessors, he approached the monster's lair. With each step, the stench of onion and decay grew stronger. The Witcher knew he was close and needed to prepare properly. He opened 3 flasks with previously prepared concoctions and quickly gulped down the contents of each bottle. His skin began to gray, veins and muscles became visible, and his eyes filled with a black tint. The third of the elixirs completely suppressed the ability to hear. However, it increased strength, endurance, and speed many times over. The temporary loss of hearing proved to be a high price in the future. After completing the painful and hideous transformation, he was ready to meet his tormentor. From the bushes covering the bright clearing, a green creature emerged, 1 fathom tall, weighing at least 200 weights. It charged with impetus at the monster slayer. The Witcher, with superhuman speed, avoided a sweeping blow, and precisely cut with his sinister from the left, slicing a piece of the shoulder. The monster roared and prepared for another swing. But the Witcher was faster, anticipating the creature from the right. He cut with a dexter from the right into the opposite shoulder and ear. Then he changed the sword's position to a feint, and thrust with all his might into the neck. The monster immediately fell to the ground, which slammed with a similar thunder. As after a cavalry charge, from the side of the forest more creatures emerged, smaller than the previous one. The Witcher, ignoring the numerical superiority of his opponents, charged forward with his sword held above his head. Dodge, feint, thrust into the neck, a pirouette from the left, ending with a sinister. All movements were performed naturally, instinctively, and flawlessly. After repeated variations of the previously mentioned movements, the third also finally fell. The Witcher knew there were certainly more, but he continued into the thicket of oaks and pines. The next creature encountered certainly looked like a female. She significantly surpassed her predecessors in both weight and height. In her hand, she held a large, hewn log from a tree. The creature reacted quickly, turning her head towards the newcomer. The monstrous roared and charged at the Witcher, executing a powerful swing with the object she held. The Witcher dodged and evaded. He did not avoid it. The significantly built creature moved exceptionally gracefully, and its speed matched an enraged wolverine. Despite the elixirs and armor protecting his body, something crunched in the Witcher's left shoulder. He fell to the ground with impetus, immediately rolling away, anticipating where the next blow would land. This time he was lucky as the creature missed. The Witcher moved away, performed a demanding combination of movements with his hands, and executed a well-known sign. A flickering beam of energy struck the monster, unbalancing it to such an extent that it had to kneel. That was enough. The Witcher somersaulted towards the giant, delivering a wide blow to the abdomen. Blood spurted like from a mountain spring, expelling a long tangle of intestines. The creature howled, lifted the piece of wood it held, and threw it at its opponent. It hit. Despite its powerful build, the movement was quick, sure, and executed exactly as if it were performed regularly. During marital quarrels, the Witcher flew 4 fathoms, plowing the ground and tearing up roots from the surrounding earth. He certainly had several broken ribs, but under the influence of elixirs, he didn't feel it. Without hesitation, he formed his hands into the Igni sign. A searing beam of fire reached the enemy. Gases emanating from the intestines protruding from its body acted like kindling. The monster burst into flames like a torch in a spasmodic scream. It tried to charge at the Witcher again, but this time without the grace and speed it possessed at the beginning of the encounter. A powerful swing of the sword severed the monster's head, which fell not far from the body. "Time for daddy," he replied, striding towards the large hewn tree trunk, converted into a dwelling. The cottage itself had several windows, a door, and stone steps leading to the elevations around the house. At the top of the elevation stood a sizable wooden totem, with a skull resembling a small pony, placed at its apex. Not far away stood a wooden structure, resembling an outhouse but significantly larger. The doors of the wooden structure swung open. From within emerged a green behemoth, dressed in commoner's attire. It was significantly larger than all previous ones. It equaled the female in size. However, its considerable build indicated that it could weigh at least twice as much. Tucked into its belt was a huge butcher's cleaver, adequate to its size. Most likely, it had just finished its break and was returning to portioning human meat. The giant charged at the Witcher with its blade. Blocks and dodges did little, because the monster attacked constantly, relentlessly. It didn't even need to parry, it just attacked. The Witcher, overwhelmed by the barrage of blows, tried to execute a cut. However, each such attempt resulted in an accurate blow from the enemy, gashing armor and skin. The Witcher hunched down and, after blocking, swiftly kicked the opponent in the stomach. That was a mistake. As a result of the kick, the creature spewed out a considerable dose of toxic vomit, which began to burn not only the leather straps of his armor, but also the steel rings of his chainmail. The monster kicked the Witcher in retaliation, but missed. The Witcher swiftly took a small crossbow from his back belt and fired a bolt towards the monster. A cluster of shimmering sparks erupted from the bolt embedded in its torso, igniting the poisonous fumes emanating from its maw. The Witcher used the moment of confusion and cut from the left with a sinister, severing the ogre's leg. He knelt and somersaulting cut into the cruciate ligament of the other leg. The monster swung its cleaver and cut the Witcher's jacket, leaving a nasty wound. The Witcher, however, paid it no mind. He was angry. He cut the giant from back to neck. Then he cut once more from above, severing a piece of its cheek and ear. The behemoth grabbed the Witcher in its muscular paws, trying to tear him like a toy. The Witcher formed his hands into the Igni sign and unleashed a powerful wave of fire. The fire flew directly into the monster's maw, igniting more and more from the beel. The monster let go of the Witcher and began to crawl towards a nearby pond to extinguish the burning fire within it. The Witcher, however, did not let up. He ran after it, and with a terrifying cut, severed the creature's head. The elixir stopped working, and the pain from cuts and fractures began to intensify. He severed the heads of the previously defeated smaller creatures, presumably young ones, and threw them into a bag, where the heads of their parents already were. Before heading for the reward, he looked into the hut the monsters inhabited. He thought there might be living people in the pantry, whom the beasts held captive. However, he found nothing of note except a document titled Deed of Land Ownership. From the documents, it appeared that the creatures inhabiting these lands did so legally. The deaths of the humans were in necessary self-defense, and the Witcher realized that he had been pressured into killing sentient beings who, moreover, were innocent. Appearances are deceiving. Things are rarely what they seem. He immediately set off towards the city, taking more pain-reducing elixirs along the way. He went to collect the reward. Although he didn't want the money, he desperately needed it. He couldn't bring back the unjustly killed ogre after all. Soon Geralt of Rivia became famous. After he disenchanted Ada, the princess transformed into a bloodthirsty Striga. However, the Witcher never forgot what happened before his journey to Vizima. He never forgot that once, in Duloc, an unjustly condemned monster lived with his family. His name was Shrek.